19th, and it is 2023, and it is 6:30, and this is the Parks Commission, and we are starting our meeting. We're opening our meeting. So if you could, my name is Sandra Barry. I'm from Nestlewoods Lane in Hubbardston.
Mandy Donaldson, I'm from Natty Pond Drive in Hubbardston.
Jesse Alexander from Lombard Road in Hubbardston.
Joshua Tenpenny from Simons Hill Road in Hubbardston.
Okay. First of all, I want to thank you all for coming. I want to thank you all for joining. Just to give you a little bit of information. So usually we go into public session, which means people from the public can come in and speak. That doesn't happen very often. Or they can ask questions. I just wanted to give you, first of all, thank you very much for joining, because I don't know if you knew how dire the Parks Commission was. The Parks Commission was down to one member because all the rest of our terms had come up and we were not going forward. Well, 4 of us were not going forward with a new term, and so one person can't be a committee.
Yeah.
So the committee was going to fall apart, and Eric, he's not here. He's been on the committee. This is going on his 3rd year. He couldn't make it tonight. He's working out of town, but he said just meets because we were trying to get a date together.
All right, so Eric is the last man standing and you are retiring.
Yeah, I actually retired, and Nate asked me if I would be appointed again so I could, in which I said I don't mind doing that, so I could, you know, get this committee up and running, keep it going, like there was no one to pay the bills if there wasn't a, you know,
Yeah.
things like that. So, so I really appreciate you guys joining and volunteering your time, because especially as young moms, you know, my kids were babies when I joined the Parks Commission in 2001, and I joined because I was at the town beach, and they had given swimming lessons the year before. In this particular year, when my daughter was turning 3, there was no swimming lessons, and I kind of went to the town, and the woman said, oh, call this girl, and she said, we don't have enough people on parks to do it. And so I said, well, I'm gonna join. I'm not gonna complain without
Do
doing
something.
without having action. So I've been there ever since, and I'm not patting myself on the back. I've loved it. It has morphed. And I'm gonna give you a little information about it. I thought I would kind of let you know the history of the parks, only since I've been on it though. So this will tell you a little bit about where I started 22 years ago and where we are today.
May I ask what the town beach is?
Oh, Comet Pond?
Comet Pond, okay.
Yes,
I didn't know
yes.
if there was something else.
No, Comet Pond. And my kids are all grown at this point, so I haven't been to Comet Pond in a long time, other than we used to boat lounge all the time to kayak and could go that way, but the actual public beach I haven't been to in a while. And there's a big history about Comet Pond too. So the town owned it many, many years ago. And right, I think in the early 2000s, late 1990s, early 2000s, they gave it to DCR. And there's all this ramifications why they did it. We've tried a few times to maybe try to get it back, but it's always kind of run into, you don't want to do that, too much liability is kind of what they're saying. So just to give you an idea of where we stand today, when I joined, roughly from 2001 to 2008, we were a rec department. We put on swimming lessons, we put on summer concerts, we did summer rec programs, we did little adult ed programs at the school, and we didn't maintain the property of the parks. So when I refer to the parks, basically it's Curtis Rec Field, the playground, skate park, all those fields down there. Charlie Clark Corner, the Millennial Park, whatever you want to call it, that little park beside the fire station. So you might have been in town, or maybe not, you weren't in town. So in the year 1999, I wasn't even part of it back then. Someone did a fundraiser and they wanted to build a millennial park because it was the millennial 2000. And so I wasn't involved in it, but a lot of people did. If you ever walk down there, there's all these donated bricks with families' names on it and all that. So the parks oversees it. We don't maintain it, but we kind of oversee it. You'd be surprised how many people will ask about using it or what have you.
I thought it was just a hunk of grass.
No, it's got the little gazebo there,
yeah.
and yeah, there's not a lot to it at this point. And so we oversee that. Town Common is actually with the Unitarian churches here on the Common. So the church owns 30 feet around the church, And then the town common is everything that goes forward from there, okay?
Yep.
So, also the Mount Jeff Conservation Area. So, we don't oversee it, we're kind of part of it, but really if people wanna do things up there, they usually go to Conservation Committee first.
Mhm.
And then if they have questions, they'll come to us, okay? So, so anyways, as I was saying, we really, 22 years ago, we were rec department. We really did recreational programs for kids and adults. And then in 2008, and as you said, we had a very tiny budget, $3,000. And then in 2008 to about 2014, 15, I don't remember exactly, they made us, almost a department, gave us a good sized budget. We maintained everything, you know, did all the mowing, did all the weed whacking at all the parks and all of that. Plus, we did the recreational programs as well. Then, what kind of happened was, you guys probably weren't around when the charter, they redid the charter, so the charter was from, I don't know, the 1800s or something. And they hadn't redone the town charter a long time, and when they did the town charter, they took the parks budget away and gave it to DPW for them to maintain the parks, and they left us a very tiny budget to run anything. And how do I say this, in 2000, we had a bigger budget than we had today. So, so over the years, I've worked with a lot of great people, willing to, you know, roll up their sleeves, put in hard work, and do things. Physical things, building benches, building, you know, like some of the, well, they're not there anymore, but we had built a lot of benches down at the park. We cleaned the park on a regular basis. We brought in pea stone. I don't know if you guys were here with the old, well, I had all the pea stone. I mean, us as volunteers used to order the pea stone to get delivered, and we would, you know, manually do all that and spread the pea stone, make sure the park was in good running order. So moving forward to kind of what we do today, we worked really hard at doing two big projects that I'm very proud of. Is we were very instrumental in doing some fundraising, getting some grants, and building the basketball court. So that just went in 2016, I think. That was a big one. And then the other thing was the new playground. So if you were here with that old playground, it was falling apart.
Yeah.
And it was getting very, very dangerous. So we worked really hard, because you have to apply for grants. And you have to advocate to the town, like, this needs to be done. And so we worked really hard, and we got what I think is a very beautiful new playground down there. So those two things have been done. And again, we don't have to have as much physical work anymore, because we are replacing things and things are newer, okay, if that makes sense. So again, the park today, we have a budget of $2,500. And honestly, it pays for the porta potties. So I was saying to my husband, I said, I feel bad. I feel like I'm very positive, and I want you guys to be enthusiastic, but the money has just dwindled. It's dwindled. But that doesn't mean you can't still do things, okay? It doesn't mean if you want to hold an event down there as the parks and put something on, you can do it. I mean, you're covered under the insurance of the town. You just have to go before the Board of Selectmen yourselves if we decide, hey, let's try this. You know, you can organize it, put it out there, and hopefully it will be successful.
Okay.
We're kind of down to the last two events we still run is the Townwide Yard Sale, although did not do it this year. This is the first year in like 18 years we haven't done it. And then the Easter egg hunt is always in the spring. So, so as I say, you can come up with new ideas. If this committee wants to come up with new ideas, they can change policies. If they think something needs to be done at the park, or they want to see some sort of improvement, you can work to do that. So I really see ourselves now as advocates for the park. Like like last year we tried really hard to get funding to replace that walking track. So I don't know if you use any of those facilities down there. That rocking, it's a mess. I mean, someone's gonna get hurt. Someone did get hurt. Like 3 years ago, someone broke their ankle. You know, stepped in a crack. So So that's kind of where we're at, but I didn't want you to think that it could be interesting and fun to be on this committee, because if you say, you know, I'd really like to see this happen, organize and plan it. I mean, you can do it, you know, do you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
Has
Sure.
there been any talk with like the Hubbardston Celebration Group that gets a ton of money, which does all recreation stuff, pulling that into this department?
So, good question. So, yes and no. So the Hubbardston Celebration Committee came from the Town Bicentennial Committee. So when we had our bicentennial, 2015, 2016, there was a committee that was planning and organizing all of that. That committee fell apart, okay? Don't know why, I wasn't on it, but it fell apart. One person remained. That person, who has done a lot, went to the town and says, I wanna be appointed the town celebration person. My complaint, and I know I'm on film, I've gone to this person many times and like, you need to have a committee, cause I had a feeling people might wanna join this committee thinking it's that committee. I said, I personally think you can't represent the community as one person. You need a membership, you need people to join. This person refuses to work with anyone. So the person feels it's just easier to do it all by themselves. And I work well with this person, I know this person. I disagree with that person on this respect. Like you need to have people working with you. People wanna do these things. This is the fun part of town. Why are you the only one doing it? But
Well, that's gotta get stressful too at some point, I mean, that's.
she has a lot of family in town, so all of her family gets to do it. So, so if you wanna come up with your own events, you can. But that, so that's been a sticking point for a number of people in town, but no one has specifically approached the board of selectmen to say, I wanna join that committee, or what have you.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so it's kind of a bone of contention in town, cause I think a lot of people wanna be part of that committee.
Yeah,
So-
I was just thinking like it's all recreation stuff. like
It's
just
all
park and
recreational fun
recreation
things, yep.
Commission, just makes sense, but okay.
Yeah, so, so anyways, and the person's done a wonderful job, I just think it'd be nice if other people could be involved in it, myself. So, but we do, still, well, the townwide yard sale, I did not do it this year. I mean, I was kind of done, you know, my term had run out. It's been a coordination with the seniors. It's a fundraiser, it's always been a fundraiser for the seniors and the Parks Commission. The seniors felt they couldn't do it this year, they just don't have the membership anymore. And my commission was done. I'll be honest, my husband retired, I'm pretty much retired. We traveled across the United States, I just was like, I'm done, you know, and now here I am.
Yeah.
Which is
You came
fine.
back.
I
That was
came
the
back.
last meeting I watched, was you saying, I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I saw you were reappointed, and I was like, oh.
What time of year is the yard sale?
Well, so we've done it in the spring and we've done it in the fall.
Oh, okay.
We've done it both times.
It's next weekend, or this weekend, right?
Yeah,
They're
so,
doing-
this town celebration, I went to her and I'm like, if you wanna do this, you know, go ahead. It's being done not as a fundraiser, just as a town event. And it's all electronic, as, you know, like in the past, we never did electronic, cause you get money from people making donations, picking up the mats, which were which were here at the senior center. So that's how we got the revenue coming in as a fundraiser. And it was a good fundraiser, I mean, we'd make like, you know, I mean, we, as in the parks, would get like $300 or $400 from MAPS donations and things like that. And the seniors, cause people had to come to the senior center to get it, they had this huge yard sale. They would make $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 with their yard sale, so it was really a win-win for both of us, so, for both, you know, them and the parks. So, so that's, you know, what happened this year. People wanna pick that up and do it again next year, you know, I'm sure that's not gonna be a problem, you know, and depending on how you wanna do it. The ACON, that's been an annual thing that the parks, has funded for, we've worked with Girl Scouts for years. So, and either of you have children in Girl Scouts? No. So that's been a combination, with the parks and the Girl Scouts for years. So, But again, the other thing that we do is, or we maintain doing, is we do at the holidays decorate by the fire station, that little gazebo there. We put the banners up for 4th of July, and we put lights on at Christmas time, and the tree on the common. Hubbardston Celebration decorates the park now, the common with all the deer and the lights and everything, but the tree has always been part of the parks. And the parks has always maintained, decorating that. The only issue is I don't know what's gonna happen this year. I mean, really, it's gonna depend on if that's something you guys wanna do or not do. So.
Do we already have all this stuff?
Yeah, I was gonna
Well,
ask that too.
so the biggest issue is, so we replace the lights and stuff like every other year because they burn out and they fade. So we're at a point where it needs to have all new stuff bought. And if you think there's money in the budget, then that's fine too. As a commission, you'll decide how to spend the money. So that is something you can do or if you can't do, and I do know Hubbardston Celebration said, oh, well, I'll just take it over if Parks doesn't wanna do it anymore, so. Can't give everything up, right? So, yeah, one of the issues though, is not a big issue, but you then need to know someone with a bucket truck or not, cause that tree's like probably 25 feet tall at this point, so. But we've managed to do it with tall ladders and poles and you know, and there is a guy in town that we would hire, his bucket truck, we have used his bucket truck. Last time we used it, ended up breaking down, so I don't know if it's still available, but maybe you guys know people who, you know, might be able to help out or volunteer along those lines.
Like the fire department or DPW will volunteer to help?
They have,
Oh boy.
so, yeah, unfortunately, there's not a lot of interdepartment support. In the past, they kind of have, but then we were told they can't do it anymore because there's always a reason. So, I don't know.
Okay.
So, okay. So, and I'm not saying they're not good, helpful people, I'm just saying they've come up with reasons why they can't assist us. So, it's kind of just fallen on us to either do it or not do it. With the commission kind of being down to one person last year, where we're just like, yeah,
Right.
we're done, you know, unless someone new, and you guys all came on after the fact, which is great, you know, decide to do it, that's fine. If you decide you don't wanna do it, I know Hubbardston Celebration will take it over and take care of all that, so.
When do you usually do that?
We usually do it, the weekend before, you can do it whenever you want. We usually do it the weekend before Thanksgiving because they do the lighting of the town common, like either that weekend of Thanksgiving or the first weekend in December.
I
So-
always thought that was the church that did that. I didn't realize that it was the Parks Committee.
It's the parks, yeah. The parks actually used to do it all on their own, and then the Celebration Commission got involved with the seniors and they did it together, so we just would help decorate and then they ran the program, so. They sing song, Christmas, you ever been to it?
Yeah, they have the lions there with hot
The
chocolate.
Lions are there with hot chocolate, yep, and the senior choir is there, and so yeah, I mean, it's a fun time, you know, and again, how do I say this kindly? When my kids were little, I was much more involved in what we were doing, you know,
Right.
you know, my kids are much grown by now, and so it's good to see people coming who have young children. In fact, I wanna say, everyone who's on the Parks Commission right now, who ended in June, all of our children are all in their 20s and 30s. I mean, we've done the parks for a long time, but our kids are all grown, like, you know. So, so that's that.
Who does field day?
Lions Club.
That's Lions Club. Okay.
Yep, and they actually, Lions Club just built that big pavilion down there. You know, it's a big
Yeah.
pavilion. And the Lions Club, a little history too, the Lions Club built the bandstand. It's not a gazebo at the rec, it's a bandstand. And
That
they,
was a very technical distinction there.
they're very particular about us knowing it's a bandstand. And they built it 25 years ago, something like that, and they donated it to the town. So So the parks, we always work with the Lions Club, cause sometimes it needs stuff done, and we're at the point like, we don't have any money to do it.
Right.
You know, we'll help you, we'll try to help you, you know, but they're pretty good about maintaining it and things like that. What we would do at the parks is, we would usually go down in the spring and then in the fall and just make sure the area, you know, there's a lot of greenery and flowers and stuff around that bandstand, so we would make sure it's kept up and cleaned and what have you. So, so that's that. So something about the park, the Curtis Rec Field, is that the park was built with state funds, so it's technically a state park, but it's maintained by Hubbardston. Okay, so there's a lot of rules and regulations that go with that, so you can't charge a fee for people to use the park. Okay, if you hold an event down there, you can't charge the public to participate. So like the Lions Club, they can charge for games and things like that, but you can't charge people to enter the park, cause it's a public park, okay? So, unlike some towns that own their own property and own their own park, because this was built with state funds, it's a public park for anyone, okay? But we do have the right to, manage it, and what happens with that is if any organization wants to use the park, actually I made this up. Any organization that wants to use the park, they have to fill out a form if you ever go online. So I'm just gonna show this, you don't have to keep these, but just to give you an example, they have to complete a field use and they have to provide a certificate of insurance. So, and you'd be surprised, we've had people do fundraisers at the park, you know, like private fundraisers. I was gonna say a woman for like 5 years in a row did like a walk, like a track walk for the Lyme disease, and it was a fundraiser for Lyme disease organization. She did that for many years. Hubbardston Baseball, even though they are a town organization, they actually are under an umbrella of youth baseball, like they're under Cal Ripken baseball. So they have to have, so they do a use and they provide a certificate of insurance. So I just got this like a couple weeks ago, and you know, I mean, we get these from them. These people are really good. They're work in town, they live in town, and they run the baseball. Same thing with soccer. Soccer also has to do a use of facility application and provide a certificate of insurance. So it just protects the town from being liable if someone gets hurt doing any of these events. Okay, we have people who will request to get married at the bandstand. They have to provide a certificate of insurance and they have to do this. And I know some people are like, how would they do it? I'm like, well, if the bride trips on her gown going down the stairs, the town's liable. And, you know, so you have to kind of look at those things. So there are some regulations to the usage. I'm trying to think of other things. Oh, the Boy Scouts will use it, you know, for an event. Sometimes the Girl Scouts will. Again, they have to provide a certificate of insurance for the day of the event. And they all know, you know, they know that, and all those organizations have insurance. Like the Lions Club has insurance for field day and all of that. So this just tells you what people need to provide.
So
And go ahead.
on the baseball field where they have that little like snack shack, is that part of like something that we would?
No, that's run by baseball.
Okay, but that building, it's theirs? then?
It's baseball's, yeah. I mean, technically it's the town, it's run by baseball. They built it years and years
Okay.
ago. You know, no one ever really would ask to use it other than baseball.
Yeah.
I've never had it, and no one's ever requested to use it.
Okay.
But they take care of that, and any money they make, they keep for their organization. And, I mean, we do.
So if it falls apart though, like we have.
It's theirs.
It's there.
It's their mess.
Exactly, exactly.
If we were to hold events there or anything, we're already insured, we're covered by.
Correct,
Okay.
correct. So as a commission, you're covered under the town insurance. So any events you wanna hold, you know, you can. And in years past, we've done different events. Like I said, we used to have the summer concerts. We used to do all kinds of things. And just as time went on, it kind of petered out and went from there. So that was that. So just so that you know, there is some responsibilities to organizations using the park. Obviously, it is open to whoever wants to. You know who else often uses our park is the MOC, Montechusett.
Something children.
Some Opportunity Council for Children out of Barry.
Yeah.
They quite often will say we're gonna have like a meet and greet or reading, walking club, walking reading, something like that. Read a story aloud, kind of a thing. Sounds like it's really fun, but it's for little kids
Yeah.
and, but they also know, they'll request the dates. They'll put in an insurance waiver, especially if they're going to advertise, you gotta come to the Hubbardston Park to do this. Yeah, that's an organization using our park. They need to be insured.
Okay.
Anyone can go down for public use, people can go down and have a birthday party down there if they want, it's all a free public park. So, okay, does that explain or clarify some things? And a lot of people don't even know that, you know?
I didn't know that, yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, oh no, I'm sure there's many things that have happened down there that probably shouldn't have happened with, but you know, what you don't know, you don't know. So, let's see. Any other responsibility, anyone else think of any other responsibilities? Obviously, we pay any bills, down there, so, obviously, we have to have porta potties, it's a public park. And that is where the majority of our budget these days goes. The other thing is, what people may or may not know is there is a expensive irrigation system on about 50% of the park. So, but that has to be maintained too, so we open it in the spring. We have a company who do it and the guy's actually retiring, so in the spring, we're gonna have to find a new company, to do it. So they open it in the spring, they close it, they'll do any repairs, but we just had to have some major work done, so we had to have it done, so we had to pay for it. So, so that did happen. So I guess going forward, you'll have to, you know, make decisions about that, and what you wanna do with it. Let's see, what else? What other I mean, it's just kinda interesting, cause we have, so through the parks, through the town website, if someone has a question or wants to use the park, I will get an email, and it will come from the town, and it will say, you know, I'd like to do this, or if there's an issue down there, you know, someone will have a problem, or a lot of times people will report like, you know, a swing's broken, I mean, especially on the old set. But the new one's pretty, you know, brand new, so we haven't had any complaints or anything about that. But you know, that's how people kind of alert you, or they'll call the town office, and then I'll get the call. So, so I'm just gonna say, I am going to do this through the fall. I'm going to walk away from all those responsibilities. Is it a ton of responsibility? No. Tired of hearing the complaints. You know, people complain. I mean, and you know, people do gracious things too. I'm not trying to be negative. So it's going to be what you guys wanna take this and go with further. Again, I'll gladly sit back and, you know, help out, give you any recommendations, what have you, but I just don't wanna be that front person anymore. So I kinda do all the administrative work too, I pay the bills. I, you know, get the services up and running, like, I'll make sure that the porta potties are closed down at the end of the season. And then I'll just tell someone, this is who we use, you can use whoever you want, you know, decide what you wanna do going forward. And, so I hate to say it, but someone's gonna have to step into that role. Unless you, so I'm gonna be very open, when it came down to just no one, that one person but Eric, I went to Nate, the town, and I'm like, I think the town needs to take over these responsibilities, there's no one to take them over. I'm not gonna do them anymore, I'll do them just for the summer, so again, I'm not trying to be negative, I'm just saying, if you're enthusiastic and you want to take this going, you've had my blessing, I'll be supportive, I'm just walking away from it. 22 years, I've done my time,
Yeah.
it's time to retire.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So I do know that if, depending on how you guys want this to go forward, if you decide you don't want those duties, I think the town will take them over, okay? So decide what you wanna do, and with Eric too, he couldn't make it tonight, but, you know, we'll have another meeting before everything's said and done.
How frequently do you have meetings?
So, it depends on what we have going on. So like when we were doing the playground, we were meeting probably once a month, because we had to make a lot of decisions, and then we had COVID and all this stuff, but we met a lot because we had to design the playground, and we all worked together on picking out what we liked and what we thought would look nice there, and we really worked hard to try to modernize what was there and originally built, because the people who built it 25 years ago worked really hard doing that, and we wanted to kind of honor them and kept the same name, and we tried to get that same feel. Like, we didn't want primary colors. We're like, no, this isn't a field, we want it to be greens and browns, and
Yeah.
so we did that. And I shouldn't say this off the record, but I had a hard time getting someone to build me that sign
Yeah.
because it had some rainbow on it.
Seriously?
And so when I had 2 vendors who said, well, I'm not gonna build a rainbow, well, I'm like, fine, I'm not gonna work with you. I mean, that was just my attitude. If that's
Yeah.
your attitude.
Oh my
Found this
gosh.
really nice young guy out of Templeton. He says, I'd love to do that for you. He was
Oh.
such a nice guy to work with. He was young, he was just accepting, but I was just shocked that I ran into that, like, these people wouldn't put a rainbow on a sign.
So for something like that, would it have to go out to bid because it's a new?
You have to follow procurement rules.
Yeah, okay.
So, if it's under $10,000, it doesn't have to go out to bid. If it's over 10,000, it does. The playground, obviously, well, we didn't really have to go to bid because there's a lot involved in this, and like I said, I'll gladly help you with any of that. If they are listed as a state-approved vendor,
Yeah.
you don't have to go out to bid, which was nice. So when we picked the playground, we worked with 3 different vendors. We told them our visions, they would mock up what they thought would look really nice, and we chose who we wanted to work with, is kind of what it was. And so we went with 3 different companies, and we picked one company that we felt really understood our vision best. So, yeah, but yeah, anything over 9,999, it needs to go up for bid.
Okay.
So one of the things that we will have to decide, and we'll decide by the end of the night, but the playground, one of the things we were always hearing is that there was no shade, there's no shade, it's too hot at this playground, we need shade. And so at one point, we looked into those sailor shades, that go in the corners, super huge expensive. So when we built the playground, we specifically did 2 benches with the big umbrellas. Those umbrellas are really pretty expensive, those umbrella shades, so it's recommended that they come down and not go through a winter, because they stretch out, the material stretches out, and like that. So the Old Parks people, which was 4 men, who have been great, they've already said to me, if you guys need help, we'll help you take down the shades, because there's kind of a knack of how to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way I could do it myself, so they've already said, we'll come help you do that. So the choices are, the company will actually come and take them down. They charge $100 to take them down, they charge $100 to put them up. It's not a big expense, but, or you can round up people who can help you do it ourselves, so
Yeah,
that is
I
a,
think we could-
yeah.
I could round up people
Yeah.
for that, for sure.
So, well, the whole thing.
If we don't need a bucket truck,
Yeah, you
anything
don't
short
need
of
a.
a bucket truck, I could round
You
up
don't
people
need a bucket
to
truck,
do
but,
for.
but at the same time, someone can't get injured. It needs to be someone who is kind of strong.
Yeah.
And I mean, do you know what I'm saying? I'm not
Yeah,
trying to
yeah.
be mean, but if they get hurt, they get hurt, and then the town's gonna, they can sue the town.
Mhm.
So we kind of have to,
Careful with that.
be careful with that.
Yeah.
So, but Eric, he's a kind of a tall guy, and he's got a lot of equipment, he's done it, so, he can help us too, so
Okay.
I'm sure we can all get it done. But the other thing is, where do you store 'em? I have been storing everything above my garage for years, and my husband's like, we're done. Like, we're not storing any more town stuff, like that, so, we gotta find a place to store 'em. Or you can choose to leave them up, that's an option too. So if you don't wanna take them down, so basically what they said to us is, if you don't take them down, they were like $3,000 a piece. If you don't take them down, they're gonna be worn out in about 10 years. If you take them down every year, you'll probably get closer to 16 or 17 years out of them. Within 20 years, you're gonna have to replace them anyways. But that's just a decision we're gonna have to make, whether we wanna do that or not.
And we don't have any space anywhere, there's not.
So we can ask DPW
I was gonna say, what about
If-
DPW?
if
got a
they'll
lot of buildings
store
there.
them. Hubbardston Celebration, actually, she has a trailer, and she did tell me we could store stuff in her trailer if we need to, so that's an option too.
Okay.
So, if we decide we wanna take them down or not.
Mhm.
So, but we have been taking them down.
Yeah, I'm always a fan
Since
of
winter.
not leaving things out to the weather if you don't have to.
Yeah, no, exactly, yeah. So those are two options. I don't know if DPW has any room or not.
Mhm.
They're pretty strapped. So that is something we'll have to do. The other thing is, I don't know if you noticed, a couple years ago, we did not do it this year, but we bought a portable ice rink.
Mm.
And it's under the bandstand, but every year you have to buy a new liner for it.
Okay.
The liners run about $300 to $400. So it's up to you or us as a committee if we wanna take the money and buy a new liner and get that set up and running. Last year, we had no money to do it, so we didn't do it. So, again, that's something that when we put it up in the middle of November. You have to put it up before the ground freezes. The liner's big, and you have to get it, well, we've been getting them in Shrewsbury at playgrounds and things. I think they sell swing sets, but they do these ice rinks and
Yeah.
stuff. So that's where we have been buying it the last couple of years. The only other issue we might run into, and again, you can decide whether you wanna put it up or not put it up, is the fire department was helping us fill it with water, and then something became an issue, and then they weren't going to do it. So I do know other towns do bring in water, swimming pool water, like Rutland, that's what they do. And I think this is really funny. So when we first put up the ice rink, I was going down there kind of on a regular basis, checking out. I like to skate, so and a lot of people from Rutland were down there. It was 2 or 3 families from Rutland, almost. Not that there weren't people from Hubbardston, but and I was very surprised. That next year, Rutland put their own up, just like ours,
Oh,
put their
wow.
own up. So I think that's really interesting. I don't know if someone went to the town today.
Hey, we should have one of these.
Yeah.
We should have one of
We
these.
We don't have
yeah.
to worry about falling through the ice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Was it a big hit the year that you, or the years that you guys have had it up? I've never,
So yes and no, it depends on the weather.
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, you either have good weather and it does really well, or you don't. And I also think it's interesting, after we put ours up, Barry put one up too. Now, they built their own and put it up
Mhm.
and took it down. So last year, we never put ours up, but last year was such a mild winter, no one ever had ice. So I go to Barry quite frequently, and so I saw them put their ice rink up, I was very good. I never saw it frozen.
Mm.
So it's a gamble. Like, do you want to do it and see what happens, or, because you could spend this money and then
You
it
need,
never gets used.
you need to buy the liner and fill it and let it sit out there, whether or not it's going to freeze.
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then somebody has to maintain it, if there's a lot of snow, somebody's gotta clear it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and so but I will tell you, so the first year we put it up, I would say it got quite a bit of use. And, cause we went up there, that was the year we had quite a few snowstorms, cause my neighbor was on the parks with me, and we'd go down and we'd shovel it off, and, I don't mind that stuff, I like
Right.
doing outdoor physical stuff. So that was good, but last year we didn't put it up, but he did kinda say, I kinda don't mind that, shoveling that off. So, and another thing, so along these lines, so the parks finally went to the town and said, we need more money. Like, we really wanted to hire a maintenance person for the park because, we were cleaning the park ourselves, picking up trash. In years past, we had a senior work-off. I don't know if you know, it's a senior work-off program. So seniors, if they qualify, can do volunteer work for the town and they get paid for it, but they get paid in the form of their taxes being reduced, okay? So, for a number of years, we had a great senior work-off program. He would clean the park, empty the trash, the whole 9 yards. Well, he went away, he moved out of town. We had no one. Couldn't get a department in town to pick up a bag of trash. So it fell on us to do it, which is fine, but after a while, it's like, I'm just not doing this anymore,
Right.
I'm not paid to do this, not to be mean, but the good thing is we, were able to get another senior work-off person, and he's done a great job. So he goes down and he picks up the trash and he empties the trash barrel once a week. He picks up trash like twice a week, and then he empties the barrel once a week, because it only needs to be emptied, once a week. And I do know this has come up, and I know I'm bringing stuff from the past that may never come, but people always say to me, why aren't there trash barrels in the playground? Why aren't there trash barrels out front? And the reason there isn't is because we used to have trash barrels in the playground and out front, and people driving by use them as their public trash.
Mhm.
I mean, they would have garbage bags of people's personal trash in there, we hauled them out. So that's why we went to a carry in, carry out,
Mhm.
but there is actually one trash barrel up behind the bandstand, beside the, porta potty, so
It's
people
not
could.
so accessible to
It's
the road.
just not accessible to the road,
Right.
Yeah.
because, I mean, dirty diapers, we would clean it, I mean, it was,
Not park trash.
yeah, it wasn't park trash. So that's why we no longer, do that, and I know that often comes up. So, so a few years ago, what I did say is, we went to the town, they awarded us an additional $5,000. So now we have like $7,500, which was wonderful. And unfortunately, they ended up having a town meeting in the fall to meet the town school budget, and they took that money away, and we've asked for some of it back, and they've never given it back. So,
Mhm.
so again, you know,
That's why I didn't want to be on the phone.
it doesn't give you a lot of money to play with, to run the park, so it does come down to, if things need to be done, falls on us as volunteers. So, but there's a lot of good things you can do too. I mean, you know, like I said, the only two things, but you guys do your own assessment, the only two things that I see really need to be done is we really need to do that track, and we really need to probably redo the skate park. So, cause the skate park is 25 years old. We did go down and paint it, we painted it a few times. You get that phone call, there's, graffiti, you know, it usually is, down there, and we'll paint, and we'll go down and we'll repaint it over, you know, just to try to make everything family friendly.
Yeah.
And, things like that. So, anyone have any questions as of now?
Have you done anything with like getting quotes or all that information on redoing the track or the skate park or?
The skate park, no. The track, yes. So when we went before the opera committee, that's where we were looking to get funds for that. We did get an estimate, and at that time, the estimate was around $80,000, which I thought was very reasonable, cause we thought it'd be a lot more than that. And that was with, I can't think of the name of the company, but they are the same people out of Barry who did this new parking lot, who repaved the parking lot here. And, I think his name is Joshua, I think I have his contact somewhere. But they had given us a price, of about $80,000,
Okay.
so.
And
And
what would need to happen for that to move forward?
well, you have to request capital, you can put it in, a capital plan, and it's in a capital plan. So the town every year does a 5-year capital plan.
Mhm.
And then they ask you if things have modified, so it's in the capital plan, of course, we put it in like over 5 years ago, cause it always keeps moving. And I think we put in for 50,000 at that time, and our thinking was we might be able to get funding from somewhere else. So the state does offer what's called park grants, P-A-R-K, P-A-R-C grants, and we've applied for them numerous times, and we've yet to get one. We got one maybe 25 years ago, we haven't gotten one since, and I think myself and the, 4 different town administrators over the last 15 years have applied, yeah, and, I mean, I'm not a grant writer, you know, I mean, you learn experience from doing it and
Yeah.
doing it and doing it, and working with, you know, a town administrator who has more experience, but
Mhm.
we haven't been able to get one. So, but that, you can always do that, and then there's the CPC or the CPA, I don't know if you're familiar with them. So CPC stands for, Community Preservation Committee. I'm on that committee as a park member, I serve on that committee as well. And just, so I will pass this out, this is, so I just want to give you an idea of the budget, and so, the first page is fiscal year, so I don't know, do you know how fiscal years works? Municipal, okay, they go July to the end of June. So the first page is actually from 2023, And just showing you that our recreational committee, you know, we had used a lot of the funds and we were down to $653, we had $2,500. So on the second page, this is fiscal year 2024, you can see we have $2,500, but that is not current only because the town accountant hasn't sent out updated ones of these. This is as of July 1st. And so it says we have $2,500 in our account, but we don't because we've had to pay for the porta potties. So, that's about $500 less, and there'll be another bill coming out in September. So that'll be less, another $250. So,
Do they remove the porta potties, or
They-
you said you close them?
they do. So what we do is, so what the old park commission, we always would shut the park down November 1st. I usually would talk to, baseball's always done by then, but soccer sometimes has that last game going into that. So I always talk to Jessie Torog. Do you say we know her, Jessie Torog? No, so she's head of soccer, but she's retiring herself. But I'll just be like, do you need those porta potties? You know, how many games do you have left? You know, so I just kind of coordinate with her, and then we will pull the porta potties once soccer's over. And usually come the first part of November, they change the clocks anyways and it's dark, so they can't even have games or practice anymore. So, so we usually open up the park April 15th, because we like to open it before school vacation in April, and we usually close it November 1st. So we won't meet all winter, because there's nothing to meet about unless you wanna do an activity, you wanna get the ice rink up and running, you know, so that, you know, we did talk to Hubbardson Celebration a couple of years ago about, you know, if we get this ice rink, maybe we can do a winter carnival, or just something, you know, more for the kids. That hasn't happened yet, so. So anyways, this will be a little less. So the Parks Commission also oversees a couple other accounts. And I'm not quite sure how this happened, but they just said, oh, let the parks oversee it. Okay, so, other things we've been able to manage, but on the third page here, if you can see where I highlighted community preservation, and then it says Curtis Recreational Field, Rainbow End Playground. So CPA is a tax that everyone pays into in town, and it's a state act, and the state matches our funds, and I wanna say the town got it 2006, long time. We've had it for a long time. But the funds can only be used for 4 things. It can be used for open space and recreation, it can be used for historical buildings, or anything historic. It can be used for, housing and affordable housing. What is the third one? Oh, I'm sorry, I can't remember. But just to give you some ideas, your money, your taxpayers, and this CPA fund paid for that playground, and that playground was close to $200,000. So, so if you notice, it says payment, so we're still making payments on that loan from the CPA fund to pay for that playground. The Curtis Recreational Field, in 2019, of course it shut down with 2020, they actually just finished their project, but they were redoing their baseball fields, cause they were, a lot of them were run down, and so they applied for a grant, well, the parks applied for the grant for the baseball program for them to redo their fields. So the CPA is very, been a blessing to this town, because it's been able to help us afford to make improvements to the town. It paid to put the new roof on the library, you know, it's a historic building. It paid to repaint the church down here in the corner, Unitarian Church, that was repainted like 5 or 6 years ago. So the funds are there for different things, but definitely, I think because I was a advocate for the parks, I've been on the parks, and I sit on the CPA, I knew what the parks needed, and I tried really hard to get the funds that we needed to get things done, you know.
What were the ones, cause it's not highlighted on mine?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Page 6, right? Or I'm sorry, page the
Page
third.
6 of 17,
Yeah.
yeah, right at the very bottom.
The community preservation. Okay.
I didn't highlight yours at all?
Just that page, it looks like.
Oh, so those are two, so we have used funds, and And not that there's not other ways to get funding, but this is definitely, you know, a blessing for this town that there are funds in there for things that need to be done. You know, but there are rules and regulations to the CPA and getting funds and what you can use it for and what have you. And I wanna say,
So the
go
funds
ahead.
from this couldn't pay for the porta potties? And you can
No.
use the rec amount?
No, so, no, this can only be, it can't be used for anything maintenance. It
Okay.
can restore, rehab, you know,
Mhm.
or,
Lasting improvement type stuff.
yeah, porta potties and maintenance. And it was suggested to pull the porta potties, but we kinda said, really? Like, so many little kids use that. I mean,
Yeah.
you gotta have a porta potty.
Especially at all the events and
Yes,
things that happen throughout
and to
the
me,
summer.
that Curtis Rec Field is the gem of the town. I mean, so many families use it. It,
Yeah.
you know, like you get 200 kids and people there every week, especially in the
Do you really
summertime.
want people pooping in the woods?
Yeah, exactly.
That's where
And
they're
then
gonna-
having to deal with that.
Yeah, we don't want that.
So if you wanna go to the next page, page 7 of 17, the information center. So the information center is actually the gazebo beside the fire station. So when these people built this park, this Millennial Park, there was funds left over, I wanna say it was $1,000. I mean, I'm talking from 2000, that's how long this money's been there, there's like $1,000, and we've been as diligent as we can with it. But we use it to buy new, you know, new American flag banners, cause they wear out, they fade, you know, just to try to make that park continue to look good. We actually put an electrical outlet in there, we paid an electrician to do that, so that took some money. There's still a little bit of money in there, if you need to buy new lights at Christmas, if you wanna decorate it, you know, there is a little money in there, so, that's another fund that we do oversee.
Just super curious, library dog fund?
I don't know.
Okay.
I've asked that question before and I don't know where that
Library
fund
dog
comes from. And I don't know why they call it a dog fund, but it's some sort of donation fund. And then on page 11 of 17.
$1.55.
There's $1.55, that is the money left from fundraising from last year.
Okay.
So, and again, our real only fundraiser that we did is townwide yard sale.
Mhm.
So, you know, if that's something that you wanna increase. And the difference is, in the revolving fund, when you fundraise and put money in that account, you can spend it however you want. The 2,500 we get is expenses, it's an expense account from the town, so you have to use it specifically for like paying porta potties or paying for the irrigation system to open up, you know, things like that. And every year, your donation fund carries over year to year, so you don't have to deplete it, where the other fund, if it's not depleted, it goes back to the town.
For, as the commission, since we can't like charge for people to come to the park, are we able to do like raffles or anything like that to fundraise? I'm just trying to figure out how to fundraise.
You can, like, so at the, you can hold an event, you just can't hold an event at the park and charge people to come to it.
You can charge
But
them
you
to
can-
do things at the event.
Yes, but you can't charge them to come to the park
Okay,
and do, and so, it can't be like an admissions fee,
great.
okay?
Like at Field Day, there's stuff that's for sale, and
Yeah.
there's raffles and other things.
Yeah, so,
So the money from the year before that was left over, that doesn't bounce into the balance, they just put that somewhere else? The 653 from the year prior?
yeah, so that's the expense account, and that's the money that the town gives us every year, the $2,500. So at the end of the fiscal year, if you don't use it, it goes back into the town,
Okay.
yeah. Where the revolving account, your own money you're fundraising, you can have that forever.
Okay.
And I will tell you, I'm gonna try to see about getting some money into that account. Because we can't charge Hubbardston soccer or Hubbardston baseball to use our fields, but they can make a donation towards the porta potty use. Like, we can't charge them for it, but if they wanna make a donation, they can. And years ago, they always made a donation, but now they don't. Like, they used to give us like $500 a year for use, quote unquote, use of a field, use of your porta potties, and it was a donation, we never charged them. And it kinda went by the wayside, and I'm not quite sure why. You hate to hound them, especially when you know the people in town, and, you know, it's costing these little kids to play and all like that. But we'll write to Jessie and say, cause she did tell me earlier, she goes, you know, we have a little extra money, she kinda talked to me about it, and she goes, do you need a donation? I'm like, yeah, you wanna make a donation to parks, that's great, cause we can put it in this fund. I'll just reach back out to her and see if they have funds to make a donation.
Okay.
Even if it's only a couple $100, it's a couple $100, so,
And with porta potties, you said that's $250 how often?
monthly.
Monthly.
Cause you have to have, you have to have a, handicap accessible porta potty.
Yeah.
And truly, we could go down to one porta potty, but we could say, but we just decided to keep two, so. So moving on to the last page, the other fund is the Hubbardston Community Park Fund. So years ago, when the park was built, it was built by the Army Corps of Engineers, it had state funds, but there was a businessman in town who set up a park fund. And his name was Ted Curtis, that's why it's called Curtis Rec Field. And he had established a fund, I'm gonna say this was in the 80s, and originally it had like $50,000 in it. When they built the walking track, they took a lot of that money and built the walking track with it. And obviously they had his blessing to do that, cause everything went through him. He's passed on, now, and the fund, we've had to use the fund on occasions because the well pump blew, you know, like 4 years ago, and that was like $8,000. The town didn't have the money, we didn't have the money. So we used it out of this fund. So that fund now, I had to use money out of that fund to repair the irrigation system this summer, and that was $1,800. So I know it shows $4,491, that's not a true figure. So it's probably closer to like $2,500 now. And then the last fund, and I will tell you that fund has been instrumental on kind of keeping things up and running, you know, when we needed money to do things and it wasn't any money. But there's still
We
like.
need to find another Curtis.
We do.
We need to find another
We
Curtis.
need to find another Curtis. And then the last fund is the Hubbardston Preservation Trust Fund. This is very long and convoluted, sort of. So the Parks oversees it, okay, so we choose what to do with that money. The money is specifically for open space and recreation, okay? So you guys weren't in town, you might have been in town when the town bought the Mount Just Conservation Area, those 250 acres of land up there. When that happened, there was money from timber, so the timber got, you know, they had to cut down to make the trails, and there was money, so the town created this Hubbardston Preservation Trust. And the money went into this trust. Well, up there as well, there's all these hay fields, and they have an agreement with a local farmer who hays those fields, and the money from those hay fields goes into this trust, okay? So it's been used for various things. Open Space will come to us and say, we need this for the trails, they needed some horse mats or something, they've built a bridge for horses to go over those trails up there. They'll come to us and say, we have this project, we wanna do this, we want money out of the Hubbardston Preservation Trust. And, you know, for the most part, we go along with them, I mean, we oversee it, but it's not really our money specifically. We've used it ourselves when we've been in a pinch, to, you know, pay mostly for that irrigation system, which probably needs to be replaced. So we do oversee that. So that's a good thing, it is money that you can use if you need to. My whole thing is, we always try to do a two-way street with open space, and we kinda say to them, we oversee the fund, we need funds for this, you know, are you okay with that? You know, I mean, technically, we don't have to, but we've always done it as a courtesy, because we share the funds, okay? So again, those are funds that are available if needed. So, that's, I think, kind of it in a nutshell. A big nutshell, though. I know, I feel like I'm throwing a lot of stuff at you.
It's a lot of information.
I know it's a lot. Well, I wanted you to have this because if, you know, what,
See what we're getting into.
see what you're getting into. Yeah, because again, like, if you guys walk away and like, I'm not doing this isn't gonna be fun. I thought this was the celebration committee. Then, again, I had a big talk with Nate, you know, in June, like, I don't know what we're doing, you're gonna have to do something. The town's either gonna have to take over the maintaining the parks or what have you, unless we can get a group of people to move it forward, so, I hate to say it, it's kind of falling on your shoulders to decide as a group what you wanna do, you know? So, but little things that you get to do, which is, I always think kinda heartwarming, is, so I got this email the other day. So, we get to decide if we wanna do this. I kinda told him, I didn't think it'd be a problem, people have done it before, but there are people who have generations in town and they wanna
Mhm.
do something for the town. We've had rose bushes planted, we've had benches built, so we just have to say to him, you know, yeah, we think that's a great idea, and, you know, where do you want, you know, that was my question, where are you looking to put this, you know, cause this Charlie Clark Corner, you can put it at the rec field, you could put it, you know, so I was looking for more information from him, as well as the size, cause we don't want this big, huge, well, I'm saying, I can't speak for all of us, I'm just saying, it needs to just be a bench, you know,
Yeah.
not a monument, so,
Statue,
yeah,
fountain.
yeah,
A bust of this moment.
yeah.
Big
So,
sign, Charlie's.
Yeah.
It's gotta have some limitations, right?
Yeah.
Mhm. So, so I guess we could make a motion if people feel that as long as this is, you know, an average sized bench, you
Yeah.
know, that we're fine with it being placed and it can be placed one park or the other, I mean, what have you. As a chair, I can't make a motion.
Okay, yeah, so I move to have a bench
Second.
for Nick's mom.
Okay. And all in favor? Okay. Yeah, we actually have, quite a few benches, actually. And the other thing that's really kind of fun is this is, Boy Scouts quite often will come to us saying, I have to do an Eagle Scout project, is there, they'll either say, is there anything you need done? Or they'll say, I have
I
this
wanna do
idea,
this thing.
or I really wanna do this thing. And so then you have to, you know, you work with them and they're all excited about it and we're excited about it. I mean, anyone who wants to come and do something
Yeah.
to improve it, like,
Mhm.
you just have to embrace it and encourage it, you know, and they're all young kids, you know. I mean, one year we had someone just clean up the park, you know, cleaned everything and I'm like, okay, you gotta get the leaves out of the corners and there's a lot to it.
We had other folks in my household do the cemetery commission.
Oh, do they? Yeah.
I had some Eagle Scout project kid who wanted to, he came out and did a bunch of painting of posts and things like
Oh,
that,
yeah.
so.
Yeah, yeah, it is good, it is good. So, yeah, cause in the early days, like I said, the cemetery commission maintained the parks, they did
Yeah.
everything, they mowed and, did all that. Okay, so we'll just talk to Nick, I'll send him an email and find out just, you know, you got the okay, you just need to give us the heads up of what exactly you're doing and what have you.
Okay.
So my last question on this is, where do you see this park commission going in the future? So, don't have to say it right now. You can go home, you can email me, I think I wanna resign, or what do you think of this idea? You know, either way, you know.
To be honest, I'm better at implementing other people's plans than championing my own plans, so. Other people have plans, I'm happy to put my work behind them.
Okay,
But I also don't have kids who I would want to have running programs for and things like that, so that's
yeah,
not so much my jam.
yeah, cause I know like when my kids were little, so we're a huge field hockey family, and
Mhm.
so I'm like, let's run some clinics, you know, so we get, you know, the seniors from the varsity team or the JV team, whoever wanted to come and like, you know, for 3 weeks, just 2 nights a week, we ran a field hockey clinic, you know, down at the park, and it was great, we get a lot of kids show up, you know, just little things like that. We've had a guy this summer who, reached out and said, oh, some of the parents want me to do some one-on-one training, you know, with their kids for soccer, you know, can I do that? And we're like,
Sure.
yeah, and the thing is, people often will come with an idea, but they don't know how to implement it, so we can say, we'll run that you organize it, we'll run it as a parks program, because then they have the insurance.
Yeah.
Because otherwise they have to get their own
Access.
insurance and stuff, and that's a pain.
Mhm.
So people will come with ideas, or you might have your own ideas, and you can run it as a parks program, because
Yeah.
it's all part of a town, you know, activity. So, yeah. So, the only other thing I would suggest, any questions, any thoughts, any?
Kind of a thought is, has there ever been any discussion about putting cameras down at Rec?
There has been. And, in fact, we had an issue, not this year, but last year with the night before the Hubbardston Craft Fair. Some kids went down there and pushed over all the porta potties. And so that was kind of a mess. We went down in the morning and helped, the celebration people clean up and do whatever. And so they said, gotta put, lights under there. And the other thing too is, to the right of the park is this big brown barn, and kids like to get in there and smoke weed, and I don't know what else they're doing in there, I'm not asking. So the DPW will be really good about getting more gravel up there. One time they broke in the door, kids will be kids. So we have thought about that, but the issue is, there's no Wi-Fi. So, and then if you're putting like, hunter cameras, or what are those cameras called, for finding deer in your backyard,
Yeah.
those batteries run quickly,
Mhm.
quickly, so who's gonna be constantly maintaining that?
Yeah.
So, so we kinda had a discussion about it, and really, we said cause I had one of the guys who was with me, we were together on parks for probably 14 years together, even though I'm kind of the oldest one, longest, and we're like, in all these years, I think we've had 3 issues of vandalism. So
And the cost of
statistically,
maintaining the cameras is more than the cost of vandalism.
Well, I don't know, this past year, the soccer nets were just cut, my car, 4 windows were broken, right in front of the
Really?
playground.
oh,
Somebody
well,
else got stuff broken into, no, I know.
oh, I didn't know anything about it.
Right, that's,
Did you report it to the police?
police, yeah, police now,
And they didn't report it to the,
I guess
yeah,
not.
I guess not. Yeah, so we have talked about it, but the biggest thing is, how do you maintain that?
Yeah.
And we could put fake cameras out, see if people think that they're. Well, people,
No, no,
you see
no,
that
that is-
everywhere,
that is the
that
thing.
is an option,
Yeah.
Mhm.
so, those soccer nets.
Cameras
got
are
cut?
more expensive than
Nope.
signs that
The
say there are
soccer nets
cameras.
got cut?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I didn't
Yeah.
hear about that. Oh.
Yep.
Surprised Jesse didn't tell me. But I was gone. My husband retired, and we literally, my husband retired, we went cross-country for almost 4 weeks. So we were gone for a
Very
good part of
nice.
the summer, but.
Yeah, so that'd be
That's
something
okay.
to like ask if we can get some contributions from the other, from soccer folks and from the baseball folks to say like, hey, so we wanna put cameras in, so things like this don't happen again.
Well, even how does there anybody work with the police department? They have that nice fancy tower they just put in for them. Can't they get their Wi-Fi off of that?
I don't know, maybe. Cause last year or 2 years ago, we were looking at that tower wasn't there.
Right.
So,
Okay,
go ahead.
sounds like a plan.
Send an
Investigate
email,
that.
and if you want, and just say, I'm a member of the Parks Commission and we've discussed this.
Who do I email?
I would email the chief of police and I would CC Nate.
Okay.
And if you wanna CC me, you can, but if you wanna take that and run with it,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
go right ahead.
Okay.
So, 'cause that's good, maybe that would be, but is there Wi-Fi coming off that tower?
I don't know, I imagine
I don't
eventually
know.
there has to be because it's for,
I think eventually it
Public
has to be, but,
service.
yeah,
Right.
so,
but if they help maintain it, I know it's not staffed, well, it is staffed 24 hours, but somebody there's gotta watch something, or even the Rutland community,
yeah,
whoever.
Or whoever is doing
emergency
it.
stuff goes to,
mhm,
we pay them.
so, yeah, we do. So that's a great idea, yeah, so, but we had looked at it a couple years ago about what kind of cameras would we put up there.
The technology on that is just constantly getting better and cheaper and
Yeah,
Yeah.
so.
so,
Okay.
great, that's a great idea.
So remind me again what your names are.
I'm Mandy.
Mandy,
Jesse.
Mandy and Jesse, okay.
And yours one more time?
Josh.
Perfect. I was right, but I wanted to make sure.
Any other questions? Okay. So we can set another meeting time if you want, and the other thing too about the parks is oftentimes our meetings aren't doing this, it's, we're gonna meet at the park and do this needs to be done. So like, really, unless you feel there's something, or if something comes up that we're not predicting, we can say, we're gonna take down these, umbrella shades, let's meet October 20th to do it, or what have you, or November 1st, or whatever. I mean, unless something comes up before then, there really isn't anything we need to do. Cause I'll make a phone call to the porta potties and say, okay, pull them November 1st. Other than that, once the park's shut down, there's nothing to do until next spring. So, again, unless you want to get the ice rink up and running and try to do something along those lines. So, yeah. So do we want to think about it and then decide, I can write to you and say, do you want to just meet at the park, or do you wanna actually hold another meeting, and go from there?
I think meeting at the park would be fine.
Yeah.
Okay,
So can kids tag along if they have to?
if they have to,
Okay.
sure. Yeah, oh, yeah. Yeah, no, we understand that.
They might have to a few times.
Oh, yeah, that's no problem. The other thing too, I will just talk a little bit about, and again, I'm old, Facebook. So we have Hubbardston People, we have, I don't know, there's 3 or 4 different Hubbardston pages out there. So I'm not a big Facebook person. And sometimes people will call and say, oh, they'll alert you, either phone call or an email or a text if it's someone we know. Did you see this on Facebook? Someone's complaining about this at the park, or blah, 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 blah. So, my gut reaction is I don't immediately respond to things. I like to read and take it into account. And so if I see 3 moms complaining about one event when there's 100 people down there, I'm not gonna jump at it unless something's broken, because people complain. Okay, so my whole philosophy, if the majority of the people aren't complaining and aren't concerned about it, I'm not going to dedicate my time to the 3 complainers, right? So I'll let anyone else who sees things on Facebook, who decides we need to address this as a park commission, take that upon themselves and let us all know, okay? Cause again, I would be like, yeah, it's 3 people, and the women are going back and forth with each other, like,
But
to
the
me.
same thing.
Oh, yeah. But again, if it was major safety issue, something's broken or what have you, that would be something I specifically would want to address, but I want you all to feel free to, follow all those things that you want and bring to the park's attention things you think are important. Okay? Because, that is how some people communicate, and they don't know to call the town or to alert the town, because obviously if it's something major, they're gonna contact us, and another thing we see often is the whole dog thing. So the park's gone back and forth with dogs being allowed, dogs not being allowed.
They're allowed, right?
They're allowed now, they never
Oh,
used to be
okay.
allowed.
Okay.
Yeah, so, so you'll get some feedback from that too, or you'll read feedback about that, as well, and so you can decide.
For the longest time, I didn't realize that policy had changed, because I knew that dogs had not been allowed.
Dogs were not allowed for a long, long time, and it has been changed. And,
Do you know as of when?
well, I was not in favor of the change, but,
Okay.
people, I was outvoted, which is fine. My philosophy is, even though some people still brought their dogs, they were kind of breaking the rules of the park,
So,
but it
yeah.
kept dogs at bay, because a lot of
Yeah.
people follow rules. So we've had, one of the biggest complaints that we did have, and I think it went into, I think it was 2019, we changed that rule. The seniors, so a lot of the seniors won't walk the track anymore, because a lot of people have big aggressive dogs. And so how do you address that? Do you know who these dogs people are, you move on. So we've gone back and forth, tried to address the people who have the aggressive dogs. But if you're not there when these people, and it's not happening, and these seniors aren't gonna ask who these people are, or whatever,
Right.
there's nothing you can do about it, but as of now, yeah, the dogs are allowed, and, they're supposed to pick up after themselves and all
Yeah.
that, so.
That people don't do.
Oh, I know. I know. But, either way, I haven't seen any complaints this summer, but, and I actually think having the trash barrel up there is helpful, because I think people actually throw it in the, where before, I think they were just leaving it, yeah, you'd go up there and you'd see all these bags all over the place, I'm like, I'd rather see the dog poop.
Right.
I hate
It's
to
not
put it
worth
that
it.
way, but anyways, so just little things like that, so. Any other burning questions? thoughts or concerns? No. All right, someone want a motion to adjourn?
I will motion to adjourn.
Okay. And it's 7:45. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 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 okay. All right.